Hello all and welcome to this video about foreign education. First of all, many thanks to Sunita ma'am for the invitation and many thanks to Ajay Aswal sir for coordinating this event. I'm not able to join in live on the event because on the 26th we are launching our Tensa XAI Academy. So here I'm sending a video. In this video we're going to be talking about how different is the education experience when we compare different colleges across India versus how the education pattern is in foreign universities. And we're going to be talking about my experience at two of the world's most prestigious universities. I went to Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and Stanford University, and we're going to be talking about how the education experience is over there and how do you apply and what are the different career prospects one has. And then I'm going to be sharing some of my thoughts on how the Indian economy is performing and why a lot of students are going abroad, and how the typical career path looks like compared to both of the places. In 2017, I went to Stanford University. I went there for a pre-collegiate program. So I stayed in the dorms right there at the Stanford campus, and I interacted with a lot of people. This was my ID card. One thing that I noticed right from the get-go is Stanford University had no borders. Like colleges in India have borders. Over there, that wasn't the case. So it was so huge that Stanford University it was spanned across 3 postal codes. Even within the campus, it had 3 postal codes. Stanford University is ranked number 2 in computer science, and it's one of the most prestigious universities in the world. And it's just 12 kilometers away from Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is the place where most of the tech companies started from. Apple and others. You can see so many logos, and these companies started from Silicon Valley. I've been to the United States 3 times. I've spent months in Silicon Valley. Even in 2020, I spent the majority of the year over there. I was even there when the COVID thing happened. How my journey was different from other students applying at this course was, I started programming when I was about 12 years old. I was always interested in technology and I was building different projects. I started to code with Python when I was 12 years old, and I was making projects. So what I did over there was I emailed a lot of professors. I even emailed the dean and I talked to the dean of the computer science department, and I used to, other than my course time, I used to take time out to meet different professors. I had bulk emailed many of the professors of the concerned departments, and I had meetings with them. So I met them, I talked to them how the process of applying was, and and I asked them questions about how, what are the differences when it comes to undergraduate programs, postgraduate programs, are they project driven, what do students do they have free time, etc, etc. So I spent most of my free time doing that. So I met a lot of people. I met many people at the computer science department at Stanford, and this was some of the things that I was already doing at the time. So I had learned programming and I used to make projects, and those projects ended up being useful for many people. I started this non-profit called EasyTech, and so I started programming at about 12. So from 12 to the age of 15, I had made these projects. I made a computer which costed 3,000 rupees. It was 3D printed, and it had this power surge, so you could use it in rural India without worrying about it going bad. And the main thing was it costed 3,000 rupees, and so I made Easy Compute Box, and I made an operating system. It was a Linux-based distribution. Now it had very little text, so it was the first time that people who were illiterate or know very little language, they could use a computer. And I also made apps for the government and other things. So we used these computers to do social work. We had this program called Sunday Pathshala, where we used these computers and we taught around 400 underprivileged students across India. And later we even, this was part of government schemes, and I had my friends from these courses that I took internationally. They turned out to be volunteers, and I made all this code open source, and I had sent it to different school clubs, and this was the team which helped spread all of it. So I was making these projects from the age of 12 to 15. So I had mentioned all of this in my emails, and I had emailed to professors, so I met a lot of people, and I noticed quite a lot of differences in how the education pattern is compared to India. So first of all, there's not a lot of rote learning. which means that you are not bound by the words you choose in your assessment. Even the methods of assessment are different. Over there, they focus more on assignments and tasks and projects, and professors evaluate that. They don't have many sit-in exams. And over here, it's all about grades and how you've represented whatever's been transmitted to you. So those were the differences. Also, another difference was, like, if you went there as a biology student and you wanted to study computer science, you could happily do that. Like, you can change your course anytime, and they have a point-based system and you have to earn points. That's how you graduate. And this was my experience at Stanford. And after coming back from Stanford, because I noticed a lot of people working on artificial intelligence at that time. It was 2017. So I was already making apps, writing Python, and making small hardware projects. So I started with artificial intelligence after coming back from Stanford. I know, I talked to even the friends that I have. A few of the postgraduate people who were working on artificial intelligence. So I started that at that time also. So in 2018, I had applied for the MIT Launch Program. So it's a 4-week tech entrepreneurship program, and it's taught by MIT professors and also the MIT Sloan School of Management. Their professors are also there, and it also invites different entrepreneurs to share their experience. And it was a batch of close to 100 students, and only 2 got selected from India. So I was one of the 2 people who got selected from India to go to this course. And Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, is the world's #1 university in computer science. It has some of the best research labs. It also has the computer science and artificial intelligence lab, and it has, MIT has invented a lot of technology that we use every day. So even in the people who started internet, people who started the very early things that have become a part of everyone's life, many of the things were started at MIT, and they have a very good research facility. This is a video that I made when I was over there. This is the MIT dome, and anyone who recognizes MIT recognizes this structure. So the campus actually spans a lot more in the Boston area, and again, no borders like we have in Indian colleges. It's just a vast open space and a lot of different buildings. The School of Design has a different building, Computer Science and Artificial Lab has a different building, and the dome is different, and this has the more admin sections of the university. So this is inside the dome. And I did the same, a very same thing that I did at Stanford. I emailed a lot of professors, and by that time, this was 2018, after coming back from Stanford the next year, I had been working on artificial intelligence applications, and this was actually, I emailed a lot of professors at Computer Science and AI Lab, CSAIL, and the response was overwhelming by the professors. They really admired it, and they gave me a chance to visit the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab. I'll show that in a little bit. So the building behind me is Computer Science and Artificial Lab at Artificial Intelligence Lab at MIT. So I was given a pass and I could go and meet professors, and they appreciated the work that I did by that time. So they used to every other day. This is one of the spaces where nobody was allowed to go. This is one of the restricted spaces. I used to go there often, so I thought maybe I could shoot a video, because why not? So I was inside, I was meeting a lot of professors, and I used to go to Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab, and I ended up partaking in the things that were happening at the time, and it was a good experience working over there. So I'll share a little bit about the professors I met, and some of them who left, who changed my way of thinking too. So this is Professor Hal Abelson. He's a double PhD. He's the we all have heard of open source software. This software is open source. Like we've used this word many times. This was the person who coined the word open source, and he started the whole open source movement. So he's I guess 74 or 75 now, and he started open source, and he also made a lot of he made MIT App Inventor, which added a lot of advancements in app development. So I met him for more than an hour the very first time I met him, because I had emailed him, and he was actually quite interested to meet me after seeing EasyTech and the other projects that I was doing at the time. So he called me in, and we talked about what's the best path for me and how it is there. And at the time, only 18 students were working at MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab. And he said, well, if you're able to do what you want to do, then no institution can help you further. And he told me to continue the AI projects that I had been doing at that time. So one difference that I noticed when it comes to the things these universities undertake versus the projects that we are undertaking in Indian colleges is that there's a lot of industry collaboration. So this is MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab, and they were at the time in 2018 developing self-driving cars for Toyota. So Toyota is a completely private company, whereas MIT is like a university in it of its own. So they were collaborating together and they were making self-driving cars. So the postgraduate, undergraduate students not that much. Majority of the people working at CCL were postgraduate students. They were working on these projects and in collaboration with all the professors. So they were jointly researching. This is something that we lack in India right now. I met another professor. She also helped me to find my thoughts, and I learned a lot of things from the professors I met over there. She had worked on drones and how using AI you can have multiple machines working together. This is Peter Shaw. He invented a lot of quantum computing algorithms, and he was working on how you can run AI on quantum computers and the different things you'd be able to do. At that time, I had already been working on my own AI projects. So it was fun interacting with people over there. I also visited MIT Delta V. First, I'll show the things that I was doing at the time. So because of EasyTech and other things, it was covered by media as well. Certain media houses. So I was making AI projects at the time, and then when I went to MIT Delta V is the startup accelerator of MIT. They accelerate different startups by students. Unfortunately, we have these e-cells in our colleges as well, but our colleges don't fund and support their startups as well as MIT's. At MIT Delta V, 80% of them were machine learning startups in 2018, and they were inventing some good technologies, and they were taking it forward, and they were supported by. So I made a lot of friends over there because I was working on very similar things, and they, many of the things that they were doing there, I was able to do at my office in Jaipur only. So from 12 to 16 years, I used to work on these technologies, and this was my lab. So I had a very different experience of talking to professors as well as people who were working in all these programs in these universities, and I got to learn how the education pattern is different. These were some of my projects at the time, so I used to talk to them about this. The MIT gives a lot of homework to its students. Life at Stanford was more relaxed, but it's certainly a lot more independent. It's the rules and it's not as stringent as Indian colleges. So this was my dorm in Boston. It was in Cambridge Square, which is coincidentally Harvard and MIT are very close together. I was living 100 meters away from Harvard University. So I used to take the subway, and you could do that. In India, these facilities are not that developed, but over there I used to do this. And there were a lot of networking avenues for people in these places. Like this was Venture Cafe, where a lot of people working on startups who were associated with these colleges, they used to go there. So I also used to go there and talk to different people and show my projects and learn about their projects and their startups and what they're doing. And this whole area was Cambridge Square, and it was like I was walking distance away from Harvard University. So this is the area Cambridge Square, where I was at. And this is some of the people that I talked to. This is one startup which received like a lot of funding, and now they're big. So I used to like talk to different startups over there. So these were started. This startup Genesis AI was started by postgraduate Harvard students. Just because I used to stay in that area and go to those places, I got to know about how postgraduate programs and how things are at Harvard University as well. So a few differences from Indian education. They're a lot more. They allow more freedom. They don't even follow a single curriculum. Like there's no rote learning. You go there, you pick your own project, you make your project, and that's evaluated by professors. And you get, they say, okay, now you've passed a certain level of competence, and that's how you get your degree and your points. You can, in the undergraduate programs, you have those curriculum-based courses. Like if you're taking Algebra 1 or something else, then you have to take them, and that's standardized. And now I'll share a little bit about MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab. So there are different departments working on different things. Like Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab had its entire building, and to my surprise, only 18 undergraduate students were working there at the time, and postgraduate students were the majority of the population over there. And students could do their research, and as they do their research, they get their degrees. Not a lot of rote learning. The methods of assessment were different. They were evaluated on. It was more free than following, like everyone is evaluated on the same scale. This was not the case over there. So when I was over there, they had this MIT Launch Superlatives program. So based on votes from my fellow students and also by the teachers, they gave me the award for most likely to invent the next big thing. So after that too, I talked to many people who were studying there. So I have many friends now who are studying there, and many who have graduated from there too, undergraduate as well as postgraduate people. So this was my program. This is me pitching one of my projects at the MIT Launch program, and this was my team at that time. So in the course we were assigned a team, and this is what I did. So we worked on this for some while, and at the end of the program we pitched it. Now I'll share a little bit about how the process of application is when you go to these universities. It's not entirely based on your grades. I'll talk a little bit about how Indian education is. In India, you have fixed career streams. If you want to be a doctor, you have to pass this exam and then do this and this. You have IIT, CLAT, and 4 or 5 different streams. But over there, they look at your entire holistic profile. So this is the universal college application. MIT has its own application, but this is accepted to a lot of universities across the United States. And likewise, different universities have different application processes across the globe. But one thing that's there is they look at your holistic profile. They look at your grades are there. Not now. If I scroll down, your academic information, your courses. Yeah. So there are 4 things. Your grades. Now, not just your 12th. They look at your 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th, your 4 years. And then there are standardized tests. There is SAT and ACT, and then also TOEFL for some people. You have to have a decent score in your standardized tests, your academics, your 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Now they look at your entire profile, like what you have been doing. So if you talk of MIT and the most prestigious universities, they're looking for people who are going to invent the next things, who are going to do the research, which take technology or whichever stream it is forward, who are going to write research papers and do different things. So you have to be an asset for those universities. So they're looking for people who are extraordinary, who are doing something. So they check for what you have been doing in the past years, what type of volunteering you're doing, what extracurricular activities you're doing. Are you interested in your field? What have you done for your own field? What are you building? What are your skills? What are you doing? And then here you see, you have to describe your activities and your things you have been doing for all this while. So they take your entire profile into account, not just your grades. So these extracurricular activities are as important, if not more important than your grades. But if your extracurricular activities are fantastic, then you can get selected just on the count of those. So in my I was told by 6 professors to apply. I'll share what happened to me. So this was for the undergraduate program. And by that time I had started TensaX Innovation Lab. So because of the projects that I was building, I was called by many Indian colleges to talk about those technologies. So I went to those colleges and I started building a team, and I started TensaX Innovation Lab, and we were making artificial intelligence. And one of our first clients was SoftBank. It was a SoftBank funded startup, so I interacted with those people as well. So I started this. This is our office. So I got to visit Indian colleges, and the thing is, over here, you have to learn, especially in technology, you have to teach yourself. You have to learn all of the important skills by yourself, because they're teaching you frameworks which are 15-20 years old, which are obsolete and which are not going to give you jobs in the current day and age. So most of the students who get well placed in India, they are doing all of it by themselves over there too. But in foreign colleges like MIT, Stanford and others, the curriculum is such that students have to take initiative by themselves. Like, they're not bound by a singular curriculum they also choose their own courses. Like, if you want to do more computer science in one semester, you can do that, and you want to do more maths or data science or something else in the next semester, you could do that, which is something that we don't allow over here. So that's one of the biggest differences. So after starting TensaX and going to these colleges and making a team, so we are partners with MNIT in Jaipur, Manual National Institute of Technology. So under a program, I and my team were called to take a session about applied artificial intelligence for college professors. This was under a government scheme started by the Ministry of Education, and so in this program, 60 professors from across 40 colleges across North India, because MNIT was made the North India head in that program, and I went there to take a session on applied artificial, and I realized that this also included professors from IITs across North India, and I realized that people are not professors and faculty are not updating themselves on the latest technologies, and the reason for that is there's no incentive. Like I shared in the MIT presentation, industry and academia is collaborating together, which is something that's not happening in India. So education is actually falling behind. So it's become really inefficient to gain practical skills. I'm talking of computer science. To be employed, one has to learn the latest frameworks and then learn how to use those to build something, and they have to have real creating skills with which they can build something. Right now, that students are doing that by themselves, and the faculty in India is not getting updated. We have to fix this somehow by introducing such new ideas and integrating new ideas with the academia people. Maybe like industry collaborations could help. So that's something that's really required for. So now if I talk of numbers, one major attraction point of going abroad is, okay, so in Silicon Valley, because I've been there many times, in the neighborhood that I was living in, the median is the most occurring number. The most occurring income in that region was $150,000 per year. Now over there, they're crying that houses are so expensive, you can't get a house under $1 million. Yeah, which is expensive. But if you realize someone could work for 10 years, like an average person who's not in a very competitive field, who could work for 10 years and buy a house. And to them, that's a problem. They're like, this is too difficult and it's become too stringent. But if you talk of India, and I reside in Jaipur, my office is in Jaipur. I frequently visit, we have offices in Dubai as well as New York. I visit those places as well. But here, if you're let's say if you're an IITian and you've been through really competitive zones, it's very few people are making 1 lakh rupees a month, which is 12 to 15 lakhs per annum. Very few people are doing that, and they're really competitive. Housing prices in Jaipur, if you want to buy a house, no house is going to be less than 3 crore rupees. So you got to work for 40 years to own a house, and you have to live your own life as well, and it's really difficult. So that's how our economy is doing, and I think what's going to happen is, like, if we continue on this path, we've exceeded the population, and what's going to happen is, like China succeeded in manufacturing, India is going to do well in the service industry. So it's going to be good for us, but what's going to happen is, the website that nobody is ready to build in Germany for 2,000 rupees, we're going to build that in India. And I think that's going to happen over here. So people who want to get out of this whole zone, they are going to get an education abroad. Many people are taking foreign courses and coming back to handle their parents' businesses, but many of them, most of the people who are going out, they're looking to just settle over there because of this difference, and that's something we have to address as a nation. But this was my experience, and this is my team in 2019 in Tensa X. So two of these people, so I had talked so much about undergraduate, I'll talk a little bit about postgraduate programs. So this is Pranay Singhal. He had completed his BTech from Chennai, SRM Chennai, and he had joined my team as an intern. So he had joined us as an intern, and he worked with us later he worked with us for a few months. And so he's presently in University of Arizona. He's doing his post-graduation. And this is Suhas. He's from Bangalore. He's born and brought up from Bangalore. I forgot the name of his college that he did his BTech from. And he is in University of Rochester. And likewise, there were other people who I know who went for postgraduate programs. So now, if I talk of visas and how it is once you go over there, so you go to study on an F1 visa, and the conditions are, as soon as your course ends, you have to come back. The students who complete the course, they opt in for a 1-year OPT. So when you complete the course, you get a 1-year OPT, which means you can stay there for 1 year and search for a job. Now, if you get a good job, you get a visa which is called an H1B. In the H1B visa, nowadays you're only getting those visas if you get placed in top companies, like if you get placed in Google or other companies which are which are more competitive, and only very few people make it. Otherwise, if you're getting a job in other places, because of the current political state over there, not a lot of people are getting H1B visas. And if you stay over there for tens of years, you can apply for a green card. Very few people are getting green cards too. So that's the condition about American education. But in general, the thing is, the foreign education is not that rote learning based. The methods of assessment are different. They are more project based. They focus on skill development, and they are not as rigid. And employment opportunities are much better because over there in those countries, the per capita income is a lot higher. So there's not a lot of competition, and you can get paid well for the skills that you're at, which is why a lot of students are going to those places. So I got a chance to interact with, so we regularly go to Indian colleges for selecting our team and getting team members. So these are different colleges that I go to. This is MNIT, I went to SKIT and others, LMNIT, Amity. So here what's happening is, in India, we are preparing students on a one-size-fits-all generic standard template. But over there, it's more about what are you good at and the skills you have, and how do you perform well in them. Process of application is different from undergraduate to postgraduate. For undergraduate, they look at 4 things: your grades, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, your standardized test scores, SAT, ACT, or TOEFL. your holistic profile. What have you been doing since your childhood? Do you have any passion for the field that you're in? What is like yours? What is special about you? What things have you done to the world? How have you impacted? And your extracurricular activities. Some people have sports, some people have other things, and so on. They look at your entire and holistic profile, and that's how they make a decision. And to sum it up, students who are planning to go abroad can have a good experience and have a lot of different ideas to widen their perspective. Like when you go to these places, you see a lot of people networking, working on startups, different projects, and if you be in those circles, your mind opens up, and the students would want to build things themselves as well, and it could be a good experience. It is expensive though. However, there is financial aid available. So if your performance is really well, you can apply for financial aid, and the college would waive a lot of your fees. You can also get education loans, though those loans are not, you can't defer them. They would be like, if it's in crores, you would have to pay it eventually, and it would like be deducted from your salary. And there's like people who take education loans and later, for some reason, if they don't like their job or don't get a job, it turns out to be bad for them. But funding can be managed. If you're passionate about your field and you're performing well in your field, it can be managed. They're looking for competence, they're not looking for grades. I think that's the major distinction. And in colleges in India would have to change their ways of teaching and their methods of assessment for a better performance because when students are rote learning, their ability to think is kind of hampered. And nowadays, in the age of the internet, you don't have to rote learn trivia. You don't have to memorize different pieces of information because you can Google them. So when students are forced to rote learn, their independent thinking is not developed, and their ability to solve problems and their ability to think and be creative and do things, that's not developed. So it's kind of counterintuitive. However, I think in the coming time of artificial intelligence, we would have personalized education for each and every student, and I think then India would do well in the service industry, because we have a lot of people who are young, and that could be a good time for Indian education. But in its current state, no. But with technological advancements, maybe. And that's my view. Once again, thank you, ma'am, for the invitation, and thank you, sir, for coordinating this.